Hi, my name is Cecilia Jezik. For my presentation, I'm going to be looking at retraining student workers in the UW Library's Media Center. First, let's just talk just a second about why you should listen to this presentation. You don't work at the Media Center, but you are nice and you may want to impress Lorraine, and about half of you need to fill out that peer evaluation form for me. But more importantly, you probably are all going to be librarians in the future, and it's very possible that you will be leading student workers or hourly workers or part-time workers, and some of these activities and training tips might come in handy. Okay, so now some information about the Media Center. The Media Center is part of UW Libraries. It's located in an Odegaard undergraduate library on the mezzanine level. It circulates movies and music, including course reserves. It's open 7 days a week to midnight on most nights, and it's staffed by 3 permanent staff, 1 graduate staff assistant. Incidentally, that happens to be me, which is why I'm doing my report on this, and 12 student workers. Student workers are primarily UW undergraduates. They're usually between the ages of 18 to 23 years old, so it's usually just their first or second job. They're working for us between 10 and 19 hours a week during the quarter, and they're probably making between $8 and $12 an hour. These students aren't necessarily future librarians. Some of them might develop an interest in libraries, but they're studying all sorts of subjects, and they might be with us a quarter or they might stay with us several years. The training that our student workers initially receive is when they start employment with us. We teach them the basics, including the basics of where everything is, how to circulate items, how to check things in, and just the kind of most basic frequent questions that come up. They also read an online training manual that goes into more detail. They don't necessarily retain all of that information, but it is available as a reference source if they do have any questions. They generally learn as they go along and ask questions as they come up. Student workers have a few information sources that they can use, but they primarily rely on asking supervisors or their fellow student workers. They can also find information on the UW Library's webpage. They can read the staff blog, or they can use that online training manual as a reference source. So the challenges with this system of training is that there's a lot of information. Even though it's in the reference manual, training manual, they might not know exactly where it is, or they might not think to look at it. Information changes. They're usually not experienced searchers, and they're often by themselves nights and weekends, so they don't have a staff person to ask. They have varying degrees of personal investment in knowing the right answer and helping patrons, and so that ultimately means there's uneven service to our patrons, depending on who's helping them. And so I'm thinking that maybe there needs to be a retraining. Maybe once a quarter, new and returning staff, student staff, would come and get retrained. There would be updates, there would be answer any questions, and generally just a series of skill building activities. The problem is that this would probably be pretty boring for returning staff because they probably think they know everything and wouldn't necessarily be motivated to come to the retraining. There would be 3 main objectives for the retraining, and those would be searching the catalog, circulation procedures, and learning some ready reference. The first part of the workshop would be a welcome. There would be introductions to staff and student workers, introducing new students. It would be a time to share some personal stories about working in the Media Center, update on any changes for the upcoming quarter, and of course, drink some coffee so that the student workers have some energy to do the rest of the training. The next part of the workshop would focus on learning how to search the catalog. This would start with an attention activity. Students would break into groups. Each group would be assigned a popular movie, and then they would have 5 to 7 minutes to come up with 3 recommendations for a patron based on their assigned movie. The movies must be in our collection and currently available, and then they would report back on what movies they chose and why. This activity would then be repeated, but this time with more obscure titles. And when they report back, we would transition into brainstorming search strategies using the catalog and subject headings. The next part of the workshop would focus on circulation procedures. This section would start off with a tutorial on how to create patron records. This is something that happens every quarter at the beginning of the quarter, and there's a long line of people waiting, and you need to create patron records for students. And a way to engage students in this is maybe to teach them the correct way to do it, and then have them do a series of relay races where they rush to create patron records the quickest. Following that tutorial, they would basically role play different circulation procedures such as checking out items, printing receipts, and booking items. The last part of the workshop would focus on learning some ready reference. Student workers get asked a lot of the questions at the desk, and they might retain this information if they have some experience firsthand with discovering what the students are asking about. So we would give them worksheets on with some typical questions like, where in the library can you borrow a laptop, or what are some ways you can add money to the Husky card for printing. Set them loose in the library and have them run around and find the answers. Another useful part of this would be then to come back and have the students brainstorm some frequently asked questions of their own, write down the answers, and then practice posting this to the staff blog. That way they would have some practice using and accessing the blog so that when they had a question come up, they would think to look there for the answer. And finally, the training would come to an end. We'd gather back together to take some time to brainstorm ideas for future trainings. If students still had any questions or ideas about material that could be covered, this would be a time for them to share that. We'd also ask them to complete some written evaluations on how they thought the training went today. In order to thank them for their time both today and in general as excellent student workers, we'd offer them some parting gifts, such as this Media Center swag, such a t-shirt with our logo on it. This would just be a small token of our appreciation. In designing this workshop, I of course was considering Keller's ARCS model. I included activities that would try to get their attention, such as the movie recommendation game. All of the activities were based on information and procedures they would actually need to know for their job, making the activities highly relevant. I included lots of opportunities to practice, such as the role play, in order to help build their confidence, and I sought their feedback on this and future trainings in order to ensure their satisfaction. I also considered McCarthy's format learning styles. Tutorials and basic instruction throughout the day would address the needs of what learners. For the why learners, the scavenger hunt would provide some background and meaning to the answers we'd provide to patrons. Role-playing would appeal to the how learners, providing practice on the concepts we've learned about. And the if learners would appreciate being able to brainstorm frequently asked questions for the knowledge base on the staff blog, as well as contributing to the curriculum for future training. Alright, and that is my presentation for the day. I hope very much that you found it interesting, and I would appreciate any feedback that you have for me. Thank you.